Tonight, a scathing new report from the Inspector General's office is raising concerns over how the mayor's office is choosing to spend tax dollars.
Tents, blankets, and backpacks. A snapshot of the many struggling with hunger and housing across the 52,000 of that spent at Ravens and Orioles games inside the mayoral suite.
We are back talking about Baltimore with Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, the same mayor that has been telling the residents to tighten up while he closes budget gaps with new fees and fines. His office just got hit with an Inspector General report, and we got the receipts here. This is hilarious. Stadium receipts, crab cake receipts, flower arrangement receipts, a farewell party receipt for someone who never even left.
The investigation finds hundreds of purchases missing prior approval. Much of it spent on food, flowers, and luxury stadium suites.
This new report puts spending within the mayor's office under a microscope. Investigators now sounding the alarm on more than $100,000 worth of unapproved purchases and what they call a severe lack of oversight.
Inside the wallets of more than 200 government employees. City-issued purchase cards, commonly referred to as P cards. Think of them as company credit cards using taxpayer dollars. Tasked with watching over the hundreds of cardholders making thousands of transactions, just one city auditor, triggering the city's watchdog to step in.
We talked about Brandon Scott and his favorite SUV on his channel before, and the pattern is always the same. He spends the money, then deflects, and then when someone tries to hold him accountable, he fights back, talks about race, all the usual stuff. But this time, the Inspector General got involved and pulled back the curtain on what's really going on inside a $24 million mayor's office. We're gonna look at the report, look at what's been spent, and decide, is Brandon Scott spending the money wisely? Is he spending the taxpayer money the way it's supposed to be? Let's get into it. First, let me show you how this whole thing got started, because it didn't start with some big federal investigation. It started with one anonymous phone call to a hotline. And what they found when they started digging is mind-blowing.
One person can't be responsible for tens of thousands of transactions because they're 8 months behind already. We need to have more compliance and oversight in order to protect the taxpayers' money. And this report outlines that clearly.
An anonymous hotline complaint leading Inspector General Isabel Cumming's office to look into P-card spending within the mayor's office specifically. Their investigation finding over roughly the last 3 years, 4 P-cards collectively making nearly 2,000 purchases, totaling more than $1 million, of which $167,000 spent without proper approval from the city's Bureau of Procurement.
This sounds too crazy to be real, but it is. 200 government employees, all with city-issued credit cards, taxpayer money, thousands of transactions, and the entire oversight system for all of that was one auditor who was already 8 months behind before anyone even called the hotline. So there's no real oversight here. It's basically decoration. That's a sign on the wall that says, please behave, with no one actually checking if anyone is actually behaving. And who gets hurt when there's no oversight? The taxpayer. Baltimore residents paying taxes while sitting in tents outside City Hall, the people being charged new fees to close budget gaps, the people being told to sacrifice while the governor's office had a government credit card with zero accountability. $167,000 spent with no approval, no waiver, no sign off, just swiping. But here's the thing, it's not just the amount that's wild, it's about what they spend it on. Because where you see where the money went, you're going to understand exactly why they didn't want anyone looking at what they were spending on. And before we continue, real quick, if you've been watching this and you're not subscribed yet, subscribe. Over 80% of you who are watching this right now are not subscribed. If you like these type of videos, hit like, hit subscribe. Now let's get back into it, because it gets worse. Because the Inspector General didn't just find paperwork violations, what they found was actually on those receipts. Let's continue.
The vast majority of what waivers weren't received was actually food. It's about 295 different purchases lacked waivers that were pretty substantial amounts.
The IG finding 468 food-related transactions, totaling $230,000. Of that, $52,000 spent on food and beverages during Orioles and Ravens games inside the mayoral suite at both stadiums. In another instance, an administrator reportedly demanding a, quote, fresh fruit tray available to everyone in the mayor's suite daily. The report also flagging purchases investigators say are flat out prohibited, citing at least one transaction for Tito's Vodka during a Ravens game.
The rules of the city government should apply to everyone equally. In most agencies, people, when they have celebrations, they collect the money. They don't use the taxpayer funds because most throughout the city, most would never be approved.
When you pull back the curtain, and this is what you find: fresh fruit tray daily for everyone in the mayor's suite at a Ravens game, charged to the taxpayers. $52,000 at the stadium. We're not just talking about a few work lunches. We're talking about 468 food transactions totaling $230,000. The IG got the actual receipts from MAT Bank Stadium. Maryland crab cakes, $740. Maker's Mark, Tito's Vodka. And before anyone tries to defend this in the comments, alcohol is a prohibitive purchase on city P cards. That's written policy. It's not a gray area. This is a rule.
The report also flagging purchases investigators say are flat out prohibited, citing at least one transaction for Tito's Vodka during a Ravens game.
The rules of the city government should apply to everyone equally. In most agencies, people, when they have celebrations, they collect the money. They don't use the taxpayer funds because most throughout the city, most would never be approved.
The report also finding purchases the mayor's office made through the city's vendor payment platform ballooning from $380,000 in 2022 to $4.5 million in 2025.
This what happens when you allow the guy to spend that much money on an SUV. When entitlement meets zero oversight. They weren't hiding it. They weren't even embarrassed by it. They just kept swiping because nobody was watching. So Fox 45 then just covered this report from the desk. They took this outside to the people who actually are paying for all this, Baltimore taxpayers. And you'll see exactly how they feel about this situation.
To speak out on Fox 45's soapbox, a silent but stark contrast already speaking volumes. Surrounding the sidewalks outside of City Hall, tents, blankets, and backpacks, a snapshot of the many struggling with hunger and housing across the city. This as a new Inspector General report.
It is wasting the money. That's what his report shows us. That is a little bit alarming, honestly.
Provides a snapshot of how millions of taxpayer dollars are being spent inside the mayor's office.
We need to make sure that our tax dollars are being spent how we would like them to be spent.
Detailing spending over roughly the last 3 years. The IG finding a significant sum of money going towards food and catering. More than $800,000 in total. $52,000 of that spent at Ravens and Orioles games inside the mayoral suites.
That's so sad. A lot of people need over here money. Needy people is over here and they waste the money on different places.
Right there is the whole story. No more commentary needed, to be honest, but we're gonna need to continue to give it to you anyway because this is where we continue to dig. Tents, blankets, backpacks on the sidewalk outside the same building where somebody was ordering fresh fruit every single day from the mayor's stadium suite. We don't need a law degree to read this report. They looked at it and said what it is. It's wasteful, it's disturbing, it's alarming, and it's disrespectful to every single taxpayer person in the city who is struggling right now.
When city council members questioned the growth at the mayor's office 2 years ago, the city manager cited the addition of 13 new development positions that came with six-figure salaries.
We want to recruit talented people to manage large-scale infrastructure projects for the city of Baltimore. We're going to have to pay them over $100,000 to do it.
This is a long-term liability for taxpayers because this is going to cost more and more money every year.
But taxpayer advocate David Williams says the ballooning budget at the mayor's office has far less to do with talent and far more to do with efficiency.
Now, this story gets even crazier because the IG isn't done and the mayor is already moving to stop.
The report released at the same time the IG is suing City Hall over access to financial documents within the mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or MONSE. A legal fight that will ultimately determine how much oversight her office can provide moving forward.
Our job is to follow the money. In order to follow the money correctly, I have to outline where the money went. And this is a perfect example. This is where the money went for $131,000. And that's our job.
Our job is to follow the money. That's what the IG is saying. And Brandon Scott's office filed a lawsuit against her to stop her for doing exactly that. Let that sink in for a second. You spend $890,000 on food and flowers. $890,000. $52,000 at the stadium. You throw a $3,600 farewell party for a chief of staff who never left, and when the one person whose job is to follow the money starts getting too close, you sue her. That is corruption. It's not a mistake. It's not a lack of context like his office claims. That's somebody who knows exactly where she's going to find if she gets full access to those documents. So this is the kind of mayor they have in Baltimore. A corrupt mayor that's entitled, that's spending taxpayer money the way he wants to spend it, and he doesn't care about the people there. We will continue to stay on his neck about the situation. It is embarrassing what he's doing right now. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.